Welcome back to Chris and Retro. Last night I talked about having a great guest on tonight, and I'm really excited about it. It's awesome to have these conversations with fellow travelers where we actually get to have a moment where we can understand how different people are going through different things, and we can learn from their mistakes and learn from their victories, and that's what I'm hoping to do tonight. I've just met Taylor moments ago. I know Taylor, it's a reference from a friend of mine, Randy Smith, who I knew from Cage Combat days many, many years ago, and his son was on the show just before he went and competed for the U.S. team. So this is another affiliation and another powerhouse out of his gym. K1 Kickboxer, amateur K1 Kickboxer, a person in recovery. Welcome to the show, Taylor Enge. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
I'm doing well, and I'm really thankful that you're here. I understand you have an extraordinary backstory, and so I was intrigued. Randy asked me to have you on. Obviously, you have a fight coming up, so we're going to do a little bit of promotion of that. But I'm curious, you sound like your pathway, they say pain is a pathway to peace. And it sounds like you've gone through some things. So give me a little bit about what your backstory is. I mean, first of all, have you struggled with addiction?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
So my addiction probably lasted for about 10 years, 10 or 11 years. Probably started when I was around 18, 19. I started doing heroin, got pretty bad into that. And then for just, all those years, I feel like it just was like on and off, just a terrible cycle. So long story short, in and out of rehabs. I'm 29 now and I'm sober for 2 years. But for me to get to this point, I ended up getting very sick. I don't know what was in the drugs at this time, but whatever it was literally shutting my body down. I got to a point where my body was like swollen and I couldn't walk. So that was all within like a week. Like my body was done. Mm-hmm. So I ended up going to the hospital. I traveled from New York to Nevada back and forth. I was born and raised in New York. I had an opportunity in the West Coast with some friends, so I did that gig for probably about 8 years.
Okay.
And so I was in Nevada when this happened. Ended up in the hospital, in and out of the hospital because I didn't want to stay if they weren't going to let my friends in,
Mm-hmm.
And so ended up having to stay in the hospital for 2 months at a time. I would leave, go back in. But the last time I went back in, I ended up going into a seizure, I guess. I didn't know, obviously. And then 2 months later, I wake up and I have 2 male nurses next to me, like gently just waking me up, like I just woke up from a long Sleeping Beauty nap. They're like, Taylor, you've been in a coma for 2 months.
Yikes. That had to be the most bizarre feeling in the world to have 2 months of your life just disappear.
Yes.
I can't even imagine.
I know, but you're still fizzing out of like all the coma drugs that they have you on. So I heard them, but I was just like, what? Like I'm still waking up.
You're asking them, what are they on? I'm fine. What are you on? I've been here the whole time.
Part of my 2-month dream.
I've been here the whole time. Where have you been?
Right. So anyway, my parents were there from New York. Mm-hmm. They were under the impression that, they were coming to sign like DNR papers or something.
Right. That's tough on parents.
Thinking about, them, the whole flight here or to Nevada, must have been rough for them. That was probably the worst pain that they could have probably went through.
Now, are you close with your family? I mean, did you have a close relationship with them?
Yeah, I do.
So as far as, I got to kind of back up a little bit. One of the things we hear about, I'm a firm believer that the only prevention really is to get ahead of the kids using it in the first place. I mean, because once you're in it, you're in it. It's just Sam and I talk an awful lot about how it's Satan's perfect masterpiece. Mm-hmm. We want the thing that's going to kill us. We hunger for the very thing that's going to kill us. And, I'm curious, was it your friend group? Was it a boyfriend? Was it a girlfriend? I mean, was it who got you like tied into it, or you just sort of happened to fall into it?
So I feel like for me, when I was a kid, like I don't know what was wrong with my brain, but like I just wasn't happy. I was just, ready to like just feel something other than how I was feeling.
Sure.
Oh, I just wanted something else. So
Hmm.
I feel like even before I even done drugs, like I just always felt like I would be a part of that lifestyle because I just wanted to try it. You
Sure.
know what I mean? I wanted to know what that was and why so many people, enjoyed it. And maybe I would enjoy it too. Maybe it would make me feel like, how I actually want to feel. And it did.
Would
Unfortunately,
you would
it
you
did.
characterize yourself as a risk taker?
Um,
Do you believe you're a risk taker?
I guess so if I didn't care about doing that, you
Yeah.
know. Um, so
Yeah, I'm curious. I was just kind of curious about that, but I didn't mean to skip around. But you were back to your family on the airplane. They're flying out there to basically do not resuscitate. How does that play out?
how does it play out for them or
Or either or. I mean, from your perspective, what do you think you were kind of leaning into what they must be feeling?
yeah, I guess, but like I didn't know that that's what they were doing
Yeah.
till probably a month later when we were actually like okay to talk about it.
Okay.
So I guess they didn't like when they took me. So I guess they tried to take me a few times off of the coma meds or whatever.
Mhm.
Body was just no. My body
Not
was
responding.
no. Like they would have to, and because they induced me into a coma because my body wasn't regulating itself. So
Okay.
they regulate it for me.
Mhm.
So so that's why it would mess up every time they would take me off the meds. So I guess it was weird because they were like, dude, as once your parents came here and they took you off the coma meds, and it was like you hearing your parents or like that familiar thing, like, I don't know, like gave your body like that reason to like, work, why that time did it work? And not only did it work, did I come out of that coma like ready to go? Like I was, you
On
know,
fire.
working, everything
Mhm.
was working and it didn't go back.
That's crazy.
Right? Right?
Makes you wonder how that works. It is amazing the power of the mind too when it's stimulated in the correct way.
Yeah,
You had that familiarity, and maybe you felt like you weren't. There was a reason not to give up. Maybe I don't. Who knows what subconsciously you were thinking.
right.
But so you pulled through on that, and so did you have steady medical improvement beyond that after that point, or were you kind of still vacillating between? I know you said you didn't go back in the coma, but I'm just wondering from a pure medical stability perspective, did that seem to settle everything in?
Yeah. So after that point on, like it was just about like healing and like getting ready. I mean, not getting ready, but like getting better. You
Mhm.
know, being in a coma for 2 months, like your your muscles are all out of place. Like I was just laying there in a bed, obviously, and like I would try to like I couldn't even lift up my legs. I couldn't even go like that with my legs.
Unbelievable. I
So
honestly can't, like, I'm not patronizing. I honestly can't imagine having that happen. I really don't know what I would do if I was out now and then 2 months later, all of a sudden I'm magically alive. I mean, I feel like I walk around the earth half the time not knowing what's going on. I miss like entire swaths of time, but that would be a massively different
right,
experience. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I feel like I was okay. Like mentally, I was like okay with it because where I was at before was like awful. So like anything would be better than that.
Right. How many years ago was this?
What was that?
How many years ago did this happen?
So my sober date, which is August 11th, was the day that I went in the hospital.
Gotcha. So
So
this has been within the last 2 years.
yeah, yeah. So I've gotten better. I've regained everything. Like I had to go to a rehabilitation after being in that coma because I still needed like 2 months of IV antibiotics.
Sure.
You
So
know,
you're on like a vancomycin or something like that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So and not
That's
having a stable, not having an address in Nevada, or being an addict, they don't want you to go home when you have a pick line in.
right.
You know, 'cause
Exactly.
that could be a dangerous situation. So
Of course.
in the rehab for that long, and then when I was able to go, just got right on the plane on a walker with help from my friend who lives in Nevada. She flew home with me so I could make it home safe.
So how, like, all right, so you're out of this coma. You're now okay. So 8/11/22 is your day. All right, and that's the day that you're going to rise. It took a coma to get you to rise, but you're going to rise. You're almost dead. You hear the voice of your family, and it makes you come alive.
Yeah.
So now you're on the airplane coming home. What did Taylor do? What was Taylor's process to make sure she never went back in those first 24 hours? That second 24 hours. What was your thought process? Because I'm not, not for nothing. I know we hang a lot on the 12 steps, and I'm not bashing them, but there's something more that gets us through those initial stages.
It is because I have never felt like so strongly about not turning back. Maybe it was just like the disappointment that I feel like I put on my family, or just like the near death, you know what I mean? Just like,
Mhm.
I also have a 5-year-old daughter, you know what I mean? So, when she was 2, that's kind of where things started happening, so that can
Mhm.
affect her, but to think that like she wouldn't, like that was just too close of a call for everybody. And I don't want to do that to anybody. You know?
I mean, it's honorable that you feel that way. I think that a lot of things I hear, and I know for myself, I get to this place where I just can't take it anymore.
Mhm.
There comes this place, and I'm a fighter too. I mean, it's been a lot of years. I'm older, but there still is that. There's comes this place where you just can't take this anymore, and I'm going to fight back. And those shots are too much, and I've got to figure something else out here. And there is this mind shift and I don't know what happens. I know and some call it a spiritual awakening. I think for me it was, I actually, my higher power is God, and I call him by name. But I don't impose it on the people. I just believe that to be true about me. And I think it was before I even knew he was an influence, I think that spiritual piece was really important those first 48 hours. Otherwise, I don't know what those first 48 hours are going to be like every other 48 hours. Strong determination until I smelled a bottle.
Right. Right.
So, so you're on that airplane and you're flying back home. What's that conversation like with mom and dad?
I don't really like, there wasn't too much other than just like, you know, because I already know this lifestyle at my parents' house, because obviously I went there because I wasn't set up anywhere else. You
Mhm.
It was just like, obviously they were a little weary. So I knew that I couldn't prove anything to them with my words. It was just mostly proving with my actions.
Because they've heard it all before, probably.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I knew in my mind, that it was like, it was done. It was a done deal.
So do you think that your mom and dad's role in your life was effective in helping you get back in terms of how they handled things?
Yeah, I think just being there for me, because I don't know what would have happened if they would have cut me off, or if they would have, been done with me.
I'm so
So,
glad you said that, because the people that don't deal with people like us that struggle, the first thing is cut them off, kick them out. Don't put up with that crap. They're lying to you. They're whatever. And how many people do you hear that? Even in medical professions, you try to go to a doctor if you've got an addiction history. For those watching this show right now, if you have been clean and sober, congratulations. You don't have a lot of headache when you go to a doctor. If you've had any season of addiction at all, good luck going to a doctor. And because about 1 out of 5 is actually going to have some compassion towards you. It's just the way it is. I'm not crapping on the medical community, but that's what it's like. And so the same thing happens with support community around you. Is a lot of times they just say, just get rid of them. We don't know what to do with that person. They keep lying to us. Let's just put them over here, and then we'll go on with our happy little lives. And it's wonderful that your family was willing to embrace you. The thing is that I've used an analogy, and a lot of times is that for the support structure around us, you're the lifeboat. But
mhm,
when we go under, don't go under with us, because that boat was never supposed to be a submarine and we'll sink all of us. Keep it above the water until we come back to surface. And when you're there and we're ready, pull us back in the boat. Otherwise, we're going to sink every single person around us. And it sounds to me like your family was that for you.
yeah, yeah, thankfully, because like I said, I don't know, where I would have been outside that hospital.
Right. Well, I think
Yeah.
we both would have known the high likelihood.
Yeah.
Right. So you got off the plane, and then did you have like any plan or anything like that was in writing, or were you just kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to just do the next best thing?
Yeah, that's what it is. I didn't really do much, honestly. Like I felt like I was afraid, or like I was just really uninterested in going out or like reaching out to people. So
Mhm.
honestly, I just kicked it at my parents' house, and just did the things with them and my daughter, and like just, because that's all I wanted after that. You know what
Yep.
I mean? It was the people that mattered most to me in that moment was them. You know, I didn't have a phone. I didn't want a phone for a while. I think I didn't I didn't get a job, or I didn't go out and physically do anything for like maybe close to like 8 months. And then
Was
I got,
that more out of fear for your
I,
own, like fear of yourself, or was it just heavy precaution?
I think it was just like heavy precaution. I think
Okay.
it was natural heavy precaution, because it's not like I wanted to go out and didn't.
Mhm.
It was just that wasn't like, I just wasn't like ready, you know?
So you weren't white knuckling it. It was just like, I'm done, and these are the precautionary measures I have to put in place.
Yeah.
So recently, I made some comments that are similar to what you're doing. I tell you, this is really encouraging to me, Taylor. I'm not kidding you. The way that you're positioning yourself in terms of how you went about this is very encouraging to me personally. I hope it is to the audience, because this is the declaration. You were a young woman that could have been dead, and then you turned it immediately over
Mm.
to a declaration of war on your addiction. And you did it through some tactics that some would call isolation, but it was a determination that this is the best move for you to get out of Dodge for a minute, get settled back in. And I like the fact that you were deliberate in your intentions and it wasn't fear based. I think a lot of times we make moves out of fear because we're like, oh my God, I don't want to do it again. It sounds to me like you were just making a move.
Yeah. That's what it felt like.
That's good. That's very good. And it is encouraging. So you got back, you settled back in. It's been 2 years. What's life like for you after this now? How are things going?
So now, because of me being in recovery here, you know, that's how I met Randy.
Mhm.
You and at first, you know, getting into kickboxing with him, you know, it's called combat recovery.
Yep.
You know, so we're just like kicking ass, you know.
Mhm.
It's like the first thing I actually did when I was like ready to do something, because I was already going. So he works at Nick's Ride, and they help people in recovery, you know, do the
Yeah.
things that they
I've
need to.
actually spoken at Nick's Ride before when they did that. They have their vigil or whatever it is.
Yeah. So
Two
Nick
years, two
actually
years.
best friend
Oh,
from,
okay.
so it's really cool. And now I work there. So it's
Oh, no
like,
kidding.
yeah, so it's super cool. But yeah, now we're just kicking ass, you know, we're feeling good. And it's like these fights, you know, it's just fun for me. You know what I mean? Because it's like where I was before, I wasn't even able to fucking walk.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if you're okay with that.
No, you're
But
fine. I'm fine with it. We're far enough in the channel that it doesn't matter anyway. So once you get deep in the interview, nobody cares. No, that's good. You can use whatever language you need to.
all right.
It's called authenticity. I'm going to share something real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oops. Sorry, I was going to try to share your dealio here. So here's your fight poster.
Yep.
So this is for this weekend, right?
Yep.
All right. So you're fighting Attica Takedown 2, August 17th. You're fighting at the Attica Veterans Memorial Park. You guys outside?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It'll be nice.
Yeah, that's new. Now, how many fights are on this card?
Maybe like close to 8. I don't know if it's more than 10 or less than 10. I want to say less than 10.
Is it all kickboxing?
No, nope. There's MMA there too.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I find it astonishing that 2 years ago you were in a coma and now you are fighting this week, and I think that's pretty cool.
Oh,
That's some grit.
yeah.
But 115 pounds, I've got one leg I think is 115 pounds. I can't imagine how you could even fight it that way. So you
Coming out
I
of a
guess
coma.
what's that?
It's pretty easy coming out of a coma. You know, I was pretty small to begin with.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, you got to eat a lot of protein to get to that weight, I would think. So you know, I got a good sense of where your story is now. One of the things I'm curious about. So you said you're working with Nick's Ride and you're involved in a combat recovery, which it's an outreach component. So it's not just a fight team. There's an outreach component to help people find some productive way to manage their time as they're trying to work through the recovery. How is your outreach? Do you find value in helping other people? I mean, what does that look like for you?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Like, so you know, the most I can do is just talk about like my, you know, own, you know, addiction in the
Mhm.
past, how that could help somebody else. But now working at like Nick's Ride, you know, like it's just awesome. Like I can just relate to the people so much in there, where it's just like, you know, like it just brings me back and it just leaves me so like empathetic to where it's like, it brings me on their level so I could hopefully do the things, help them find a way to get out, and then like I needed that, I went through Nick's ride, I
Mhm.
needed that a lot of times, so it feels so good.
So you got a pretty strong spirit about you. It's pretty obvious. And, your pathway, I could see how this would be your pathway. It's I relate to you in a way because it's also mine. I think a lot of times when you're a fighter or you have that tendency to be one, that you're going to grit through and you're going to fight through and you're going to get motivated and passionate and you're going to go, you know what I mean? But when you're coaching other people, I find that a lot of people around us, it's kind of hard for them to relate to that and they lean on it. Like they really want to draw from your strength. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, how do you temper that for those that are really downtrodden, like really beat up, and but yet not take on all their stuff on you? Do you have a way that you regulate that? Because I mean, it'd be real easy for you to have to, because what I find a lot is I've spent a lot of time carrying other people, and end up by being, and that's not saying something great about me. It's just I find that I want to care for people, and so I do carry them, and I wear myself out.
Right.
What do you do to deal with that?
So, you know, like being an addict, you can understand where they're at. So that also means that like I feel like I can feel like their commitment level because I've been there.
Mhm.
I've been there and I've been not ready. I've committed and then pulled out. You
Right.
know, in a way I feel like I can kind of feel their level, and if I feel that they're not ready, I'm not going to treat them as they're not ready. I'm going to do what I can for them, but just understand that this is something that might not happen for now. But, I'll always, you know, be ready to, help them when they are ready. You
Yeah,
know,
I like that. I think that we can't necessarily prescribe people's path, but we can be a seed of hope immediate in that moment. So that moment they just might need this whatever piece that we've learned. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I'll have a conversation with somebody about something, and then I'll see them several months down the road, and I've learned a lot too. Like I've tripped up or whatever, had an issue that's happened in my life, or some you know flaw in my personality has been really causing me problems, and I'll have learned a lesson there that's given me new tools that at the same time when I come back to this person seems to be applicable. That's what I think is kind of cool about the recovery journey, and by being a fellow traveler with somebody alongside of them, is because you do learn, you just see each other's twists and turns and how life goes for them, and a lot of times your life is twisting and turning at the same time, and you're able to help each other.
yeah.
um, I was a peer in an ED for a while, and saw an awful lot that happened there, and saw any variation, of readiness and not readiness. And that's where I learned that we really just can't prescribe people's path, and we can't tell them what to do. All we can do is just say, where they're at, meet them right where they're at, and then just, turn the rest over.
Do the best you can in the moment, right?
For sure. So Taylor, we're getting close to the end here. If you had somebody that was out there right now that is going to watch this video, that is at that point where everything has collapsed around them, the hope is gone, the light is gone, outsiders are saying, and just hang on, there's more to go, but you just don't see it and you don't feel it because the drug has taken all of that stimulus out of you. What advice would you give to somebody that's listening to the show right now that's in that place of just desperation and they just don't see it and are just making some decisions right now about what the future looks like for them, or if it even exists?
So something for that probably would in that situation is put yourself around healthy people, you know, because if you keep surrounding yourself with, you know, like the negative people,
Mhm.
who are on the same path as you in that moment, they might not be there for your best interest, right? If you just, if you're really feeling down, just be around like the healthy people, you know, and, sooner or later, it might take a lot of time, but, your actions will start to do the same. It'll be more positive down the road to where you can finally do something about your life at the moment.
Love it. So on one minor question. So this weekend when you're fighting,
Hmm.
do you have a song? What's your song you come out with, you listen to that gets you going?
What did I picked a song by Drain.
Okay.
I don't know if you know them, but they're
No.
like rock punkish.
Okay.
My last song was by Primus. Do you know Primus?
Yep.
So My Name Is Mud was my last one. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Mine was always Indestructible by Disturbed.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my song. I loved it when the air raid siren went off. It always got me going. But well, man, I really appreciate you. I'm so thankful you came on here. I'm rooting for you this weekend. You think you're ready?
Yeah, yeah.
What
Little
do
nervous, but that's normal, right?
you have to be nervous.
I'm doing it for fun, so let's get it.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, anybody that tells you they're not nervous before a fight's never been in a fight.
Right.
It's just part of the whole game. It's how you process it. You're gonna do fine.
Mm.
But I'm so thankful Taylor came on today. She's to me an example of what it looks like. There are so many things. There's so many nuances. We all have like a snowflake experience in our recovery, or in our use. But recovery has some very serious elements, and one of those is declaring that you will, declaring that under no circumstances will you go back, and having that determination and grit to move forward. And you've just witnessed it here with Taylor. The power, you can feel the energy coming out of her. And I'm telling you, if you're struggling tonight, or you're struggling as you watch this video down the road, there's two of us here that are fellow travelers right now looking at you. We've made it. There's others around us that are in the rooms around us, and the people we talk to, they've made it. We've all have different backstories and reasons why we shouldn't have. But you have a community. Connect with that community. You can make it too. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Check out some of the other videos. Go over to TikTok and look at some of the inspirational stuff that's over there. And keep an eye on Taylor. I'll try to get the fight results from you this weekend to see how you do this weekend. Hopefully you destroy in there. But between now and the next time we see you guys, I'm going to do my very best to stay out of trouble. And I hope you guys do too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.